in that category, we also have Adole from Kamido Party, Adina featuring Kofi Kinata. There's also Kwekuana's remix, Amirado featuring Famiye. Manoji, Stoneboy featuring Angelique Kujo, Yolo by Kwame Eugene, Vero by Kelvin Boy, Overthinking, Kofi Kinata, My Darling, Aquaboy featuring Kwabna, and also You They Feel the Vibe, Fra featuring Nanaya Ofori Ata. But yes, that's African Money, and we're going to be talking about how, for some reason, certain government officials, past government officials, have been found guilty of chopping that money nyafu nyafu. It's one of the topics that we'll be discussing on the show today. But even before we get into that, you can also chop your own money nyafu nyafu by playing the cash out game this morning. And in fact, every morning you can win 1,000 Ghana cedis if you play, as long as you're a Telecel subscriber or an MTN subscriber. But when I said this is your nyafu nyafu, it is nyafu nyafu. Hey, 1,000 Ghana cedis early in the morning. Well, all you have to do is dial *439# and select the platform that you're playing this game on, which is TV3. Of course, you're watching us. So select option 2 and just wait and chop your money, your own money. This is not African money. This is your money. So please play as many times as possible so you can enjoy the winning bonuses that comes with it. Every morning, you could be one of our winners. Today, 4 of you will be getting 1,000 Ghana cedis each. That could be you. Play the game now. But in the studios this morning, I have Kingsley Ofosu in Tiamwa. He's Executive Director for the Museums and Monuments Board. Good to have you in the studio.
Thank you,
I don't think I've met you personally on this show.
I'm always on my one corner.
One corner?
Yeah. So.
I see. But how are you doing, though?
Good.
How's it been since you tried the Tiwa Western? Yeah, didn't really go in your favor in the MPP primaries.
Yeah, there's always another time. So they said I should wait and come back.
They said you should come back?
Yeah, so I'll go back next time.
You go?
Yes, I'll wait.
After 4 years, you try again?
Only God knows. He holds our life. So if at the end of the day he says we should go back, we will. If the people want us to come back, we will. Otherwise, we'll get other things to do.
You know the radar will be on you, because right now, the way the money is being chopped nyafu nyafu, people will be looking at you and hoping that you go in there and you do exactly what you promised that you'll do to uplift the lives of your constituents, if you should become.
Sure. We just wanted to go and serve our people. And so if at the end of the day, the people you want to serve decide that, hey, it's not your time, go and come back, what do? You just have to go and sit back and watch. But I believe that the candidate they elected will work hard and to the expectations of the people. And so we are supporting her to win the seat back.
That's
for
Loretta
the
Kokwa,
MPP. Sure.
All right.
And so on this note, let me say a very good morning to your viewers, more especially people from Tiwa West. The MPP people from Tiwa West.
What about everybody else? Why are you saying MPP people?
I said more especially, I said everybody. But more especially to my MPP.
Why not the NDC people and the PNC and the butterflies and all that?
I have greeted everybody. But it is important that I emphasize on my MPP people.
I see.
And to say that let us all support the candidate who has been elected. So because for me, the target is that we should be able to win over 80% in the Tiwa West come 2024 elections, and so we should support her very well.
Wait and see. You should see how Adam is looking at you with a side eye. Bernard Mona also joins us this morning. He's the former chairman for the People's National Convention, and he's hoping to become the flag bearer for that party. Good morning.
Morning.
How are you doing?
Well, it could have been better.
This is your anthem every week. Does it mean things never get better as you progress?
You have life, but you always want things to be better. And I assume that despite your wealth, you expect that things will be better.
Despite whose wealth? Or you're speaking in general?
You.
Me?
Yeah.
You're referring to me as a wealthy woman. I receive it in Jesus' name.
Amen. But in Tiamwa, they didn't say, go and come another time. If you want to go another time, you are going another time. Nobody said go and come another time.
Oh, maybe they communicated.
Nobody said so. Nobody said so.
No, but when it's not your time, that's what it means.
But that was not it.
You can come another time.
Who said that? And you can go another time.
Yeah,
but they
sure.
didn't say that. So don't
But usually when it's not your time.
He got 48 votes. So at least those people are telling him that come back again.
Come back
we'll be able
again.
to increase
and
your
the
votes.
48 vote, the Bible says that those who have more, more shall be added unto them. Those who have less, even the little shall be taken away from them. So even the 48 votes, if he's not
Are you
careful-
predicting that you get one?
So
You
they
get
didn't.
If we have less,
Look at the one he left.
if we have less and you decide not to invest the less, that is where he will tell you that.
No, the truth
But
is.
if we have less and you
But you have
invest
to wish him
the
well.
less,
Oh, no,
You
he's
say,
my brother. oh.
The little
But,
will be taken away from me.
but for him to just assume that they say come back another time, it's
But that
possible
is
that
what-
they
that
say
is
don't
what is
come back
assumed.
again
He has
at all.
hope. He has hope.
No, that one I agree. You must have hope.
Bernard, you are going to run for flag bearer.
No,
So you
why
have to
not?
be-
That is
You have
why.
to be cautious when you're making these statements.
That is why I'm saying
It's
that
you.
when they say that go, it's possible that don't come again. It is also possible that they say go and come back.
Oh, I
So you decided to take the positive element and to leave the other possible element. And I'm just drawing his attention that
I
both
see.
you cannot just have that side.
We are waiting for
but
your
importantly, I have an MP in Kenya, a former MP, Jackson Mwalulu. Anytime you go to sit down and they are talking and they introduce, oh, this person comes from Ghana, this is his, then he will ask, have you ever contested an election? If you say no, you will see that he will carry his plate and a glass of wine. He's interested in another table. When you ask him, I said, you can't share experience. Because what you go through in an election, no matter how little, you cannot gain it anywhere. You understand? You go and contest for assembly elections, go and contest for SRC elections. And then he feels that the experience you have garnered, you can talk about it. But to say that you have not contested election, you want to advise him, sometimes he will look at you and ask you, do you understand what it is to contest
Oh,
election?
but Edem understands at this point.
Oh,
I'm
no,
sure.
Edem
Agwana understands.
Edem
He's the NDC
understands.
parliamentary candidate.
So at least my
for
brother
Ketuno.
now understands
He
what
also
it takes
understands. So people can share a table
to contest elections. There are many who have not done it. And I think that this was a battle for us in Akosombo. Permit me to just take.
Just briefly, so we can move on.
When Professor Atefua came to deliver a paper on behalf of the IEA then, it was chaired by Ambassador Blay Amehia. And at that place, he was talking about how politicians are excited to come in and then all they are interested in is to get a V8. Now, Nia Konfa was the General Secretary of the CPP. I was the General Secretary. He had just returned from the UK. He brought about £50,000 to start with. And other support came. And he used all his money. And he lost the elections. And he was asking the man, do you know what £50,000 at the time could have done? I used that to contest elections, and the result is that I lost. And you are sitting here pontificating that most of the people go. When the money could have, at the time, bought about 2 V8s.
It could have.
You understand? So sometimes people speak just from their armchair position. If you go to the field, then you realize that
understand.
it is a
Elections
different
are one on
it
the
is a
ground,
different
right?
ball game. So
Altogether.
I
But-
commend you for that participation.
But I'm sure
And I
Edem is
pray that-
poised, looking forward to winning the elections come December 2024.
Oh, he's an MP in waiting.
He's an MP in waiting.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bella, good morning.
Good morning, Edem.
Just that will give him a run for the money.
And good morning to
which part?
our cherished viewers, especially the good people of Ketu North. And let me use your platform to again appreciate them so much for the encouragement and support anytime I am in the constituency. I drove from the constituency last night, and I can report that we are not complacent, but we are very confident of winning the December 7 election with an overwhelming margin. We are targeting over 85% of the vote, and that is what we are working towards. I'm not underrating my opponents in the other parties, especially the NPP, but we'll be very charitable if he's able to get more than 10% of the vote, and so that's what we are working towards. Our task now is how to better the lives of the constituents and uplift the communities and help empower the constituents. That's what we are working on. We are actually running the race as though there is no opponent from the other parties, because it's not our focus. We are focused on the task ahead, and that's what we are working on. And let me also use your platform again to extend my condolences to the family of our dear sister Mawena Treba Dumont, who we lost a couple of days ago. She was a very good friend and a big sister. I call her Daga, a very industrious woman, and we really, really will miss her contributions to the development of Ghana and to our party as a whole. Again, talking about funerals, the former MP for my constituency, the Honorable Modestus Ahiamble, we lost him a couple of weeks ago, and 27th of this month, which is next weekend, is his burial in Joje. And so we extend invitation to all well-wishers and friends to come and support us, give him a befitting burial in Joje, come 27th of April. So those are the things that I wanted to say with regards to the funerals.
To rest in
peace. Yes.
Amen. I mean, my witness death touched my heart and the hearts of many. It was heartbreaking to find out that she had passed, but her soul is with the Lord. But let's carry on with our first conversation. I know a lot of you are looking forward to the conversation about the former Maslock CEO. We'll get into that shortly. But, I mean, if you have light this morning or you've been in doom source since last night, you'd remember that the ECG at a point had released a statement explaining why there was, what they refused to call it doom source, but at least they gave some explanation as to why we're having some power outages in some areas. And they indicated that 630 distribution transformers within communities across operational areas had been identified to be full to capacity due to increased demand. And so the situation may result in full blown fuses and broken conductors, causing outages, especially during the peak load period between 7 p.m. and 11 p.m. in the affected areas. This statement was released on the 11th of March, 2024, when a lot of Ghanaians were asking what was going on and why we didn't have a timetable to indicate which areas would go off. Now, the PURC got into this matter. They ordered the ECG to put out a timetable to indicate when exactly consumers should expect their lights to go off. ECG had its own excuses as to why they could not put out that timetable. At a point, they even blamed Gridco for their inability to put out this timetable because they said that Gridco was informing them very late into when they had to turn off lights because of an overload in some of their transformers. Now, the PURC has conducted some investigation into this matter, and they have made some findings. We're going to get into that shortly, and some sanctions that have also been leveled against the ECG, both the ECG and its board members. So as it stands now, PURC has issued a 5.8 million fine to ECG board members and has given them 6 weeks to pay. So it is precisely 5,868,000 Ghana cedis. And they said it's as a result of ECG's failure to notify customers about power outages between January and March this year, and was contained in that statement that was put out by the PURC on April 15. It says ECG failed to comply with a 3-day statutory notice required under Regulation 39 of LI 2413, and the Commission, in accordance with Regulation 45 of LI 2413, also imposes a regulatory charge of 3,000 penalty units on the ECG. In fact, they said the ECG even lied about the statement made that it was as a result of the transformers. And so let's take a look at some of the sanctions that were leveled against the ECG and its board members. We'll take a look at who the board members are as well. And we'll start off with the first one. Board members of ECG in office from 1st January to 18th of March 2024 shall pay 5.8 million Ghana cedis on or before 30th of May 2024 for failing to comply with the 3-day statutory notice on the planned outages. Now, the next one also says that ECG failed to pay 446.3 million cedis to Category B beneficiaries under the cash water mechanism, and 4,142 outages recorded between January and March 2024, 165, which is 3.9%, were ECG planned outages. And so these are some of the findings that the PURC made. In fact, it says that majority of outages between 7 and 11 p.m. were as a result of load management by Gridco and faults unrelated to overload transformers. ECG's attribution of outages to transformer overload was therefore not factually accurate. And let's take a look at who the board members are, the ones who are expected to pay some 5,868,000 Ghana cedis. So these board members, of course, include Nana Nsafwa Sapon, a lawyer, she's a board member. Engineer Mrs. Carleen Dorcas Bouchedid, Mr. Samuel Dubik Mama, who's a managing director for the ECG, and also Honorable Frank Anot Dompre, he's an MP, and of course, he's also a board member. Madam Martha Opare, Dr. Nicholas Kwabna Smart Yeboah, and also Mr. Odineho Kweku Apia is one of the board members, and Mr. Francis Ewa Shemating Jr. is one of them. Now, Mr. Kelly Gajepo, the chair for the board for the ECG, had resigned as of 27th of March 2024 with immediate effect, and he cited personal reasons for why he resigned from the board. But he is not precluded from this because if you look at the time frame, he was still board chair within that period, and so he is also expected to contribute to the payments of that 5.868 million Ghana cedis. And a number of people have raised concerns about whether it's too high, the charges and the sanctions that have been leveled against the ECG. Let me start off with you, Kinsley. I mean, what do you make of this, especially at a point when the ECG has been told in the face that they lied about reasons why they had to turn off lights across the country?
Bella, I think that I was very happy yesterday when I heard this news. For a very long time, what we've all been saying is that we should allow state institutions to work. And so when I heard that the PURC has put that sanction, surcharge the board members of ECG on that amount, for me, I thought that the amount was too high, but I also believe that it will serve as a deterrent to other utility service providers. Because if you look at the charges we paid service providers and the service they provide, it's nothing to write home about. Trust me, this Easter, I decided to go to Atiwa with my family to spend the Easter there. And from Thursday to Sunday, every day light off. We never got light even one day. We slept in darkness throughout the entire Easter festivity. And so I believe that it is in a good direction. And I believe that the ECG would now come out clear. Because for a very long time, when you go to some places, it can 24 hours, there'll be no light. 36 hours, there'll be no light. And yet, there's no load shedding timetable for people to know where that light should be going off, light is coming this time. And so I believe that it is right in the direction. And I believe that the PURC will stamp on the authority to make sure that it is not only ECG that these sanctions will be affected. All those utility service providers who are not doing things right. At the end of the day, you expect Ghanaians to pay the right bills, and yet the services you provide, there's nothing to write home about. And so for me, I was very happy, and I think that at this point, we will allow state institutions to work and support them, give the support. And I also thank government, because if you look at it, I don't know, if government, we usually say that politicians will come in, this, but the government we have already shown that PURC is independent, and going forward, any decision that will come from PURC, we will accept it, especially when it comes to tariff increment. Now that we are praising PURC, when it comes to tariff increment and it's from PURC, we must all
embrace it.
If it is reasonable, we must all embrace it. But if it is not, then we have reason to talk about, because especially when the services that you are providing is not up to standard and you keep increasing your tariffs, everybody will have a cause to complain. And so at this point, I believe that the ECG will set up and make sure that the right things are done so that the good people of this country will enjoy their services as
But why should the sanctions go to the board members?
Okay.
And not the ECG itself? Of course, ECG also has been fined, but that 5.8 million Ghana cedis that was sanctioned on the board members, why them?
I think that part, I have not studied that part of the law, but what I believe is that if you look at governing boards of state institutions, they have oversight responsibilities and activities of the institution. And for that matter, it is their mandate to make sure that things are run. That is the essence of the board. And so I think that this is a call up to all board members in other state institutions that you hold your CEO up to, your CEO must be up to the task. And so as I sit here, when at any point in time I need to brief my board can call me, hey, what is happening in your institution? Come and brief us, because when there are issues, it is the board who has to make sure that policies that you need to implement are implemented. And if you look at the PURC letter, it says that they've written to ECG severally. And I believe that maybe when they were writing to ECG, they were copying the board members. And so they were aware at any point in time what was going on between the PURC and the ECG.
But is this fine not too high?
I think that being the first time, I think it's too high.
It's too high.
Yeah, I think it's too high. For me, I think it's too high. It is good that they've started showing that they can bite, but on the second note, I think that the fine is too high.
But if you listen to one of the commissioners for the ECG, he says, for the PURC, he says that they did this in together with their legal department. And in fact, the amount that the board members are being charged was as a result of the penalties and the penalty fine, because that's what accrued to the 5.868 million Ghana cedis. And so they did that, the right way.
Like I said, we should allow state institutions to work. And so if that is what the law says, yes, if ECG, I think that this is the first time we have seen that PURC is surcharging any state institution like that. And so for me, if ECG will go back to the drawing board with PURC and plead or whatever, that is them. But I think that it is something good in the right direction for PURC to start making sure that the utility service provided, that's good, provide good services to the good people of this country. Because especially when you go to other service providers, you can be in your house a whole month, they will not provide any service, and yet at the end of the month they will bring bills for you to pay. And so I think that at this point, PURC should go beyond ECG and look at the other utility services. They are doing probably worse things. And so I'm very proud that at this point, PURC has started biting. I believe if they had started this way back, we would have had good services from these service providers.
Should there be sanctions directed directly at the MD, Dubik Mahama? First of all, that statement that came out that said there were some 630 transformers that were overloaded, PURC has said that that is factually incorrect. In fact, they said analysis of the data submitted showed that out of 715 transformer details submitted, 31 were loaded less than 70%, 595 were loaded between 70 to 100%, and 89 were loaded above 100%. And so the data submitted by ECG also was compared to the total outage data provided. And then they say that if you look at what the ECG has said, it was factually inaccurate. I've heard even the MD on radio insist that the reason why we had to endure the power outages, which he says was not doomsday, by the way, was because of these transformers being overloaded. So he sat on, a national platform and lied to customers across the country. Okay,
so if you look at PURC, they are saying that they sat with their legal team, and so whatever sanctions they brought out is per the law. So they cannot go outside the confines of the law to say that they are surcharging the MD. I think that if the law permits that, they would have done that. And so at this point, I believe that it is what the law permits them to do is what they have come out with.
Okay.
And so if the law had asked them to surcharge the MD, I believe they would have done that. And so if they are saying that they are surcharging the board, it means that I think that that is what the law permits them to do. Yes.
Okay.
And so for me, I think that we must support the PURC at this point in time.
Okay.
We must all come together and support the PURC so that these service providers, utility providers, will give us good service.
Let me go to Edem before I even come to Bernard, because I don't know what you make of the situation. I've listened to Honorable Kwabena Donkor, who's a former energy minister, and he says that he actually is happy with this, except he thought that the sanctions were a bit too high on the board members. Do you agree with that?
Well, Bella, the truth always comes out in the end. And I'm very happy that through the PURC, our truth our narrative and our position on the government's inability to provide constant electricity to Ghanaians, the truth has been exposed. The truth is finally out.
Which is what?
Recall that on your platform, right here, we maintained our position that per our findings, the information available to us, the intermittent power outages was never due to the so-called maintenance of 630 transformers. The NPP disagreed. We said it on authority that we were confronted with a crisis in the power sector. But unfortunately for Ghanaians, the ECG decided to take the bullet for the government. They decided to shield the government.
Is that what they did?
Yes, that's what they did. They shielded the government from being criticized. And so they took the bullet, swallowed it, and gave several reasons for the doomsday that we were experiencing. In fact, they generated several terminologies, technical words, to try and cover the fact that we were experiencing a power crisis. And so the ECG decided to take the bullet for the government. Now, after taking the bullet for government, PURC, per their investigations, reveals that indeed, for the over 4,000 power outages between January and March, these things were not due to the so-called maintenance of transformers. And that even if it was due to transformers being maintained, ECG was under obligation per the law to provide Ghanaians with a timetable. Our request for a timetable was met with resistance to the extent that even the energy minister, Dr. Matthew Poku Prempeh, insulted us, Ghanaians, and asked us to go prepare our own timetable because, according to them, there was no need for a timetable.
The energy ministry says that statement was misconstrued.
How misconstrued? But we heard him loud and clear. Dr. Matthew Poku Prempeh is not naive.
He said he was
in
projecting
politics.
because of the
he was projecting.
noise
So the noise in the background forced him to ask us to go prepare our own timetable. So you see, at the end of the day, their lies have been exposed. And so now Ghanaians have come to the realization that with this, in the wake of all of these issues and the statement from PURC, that the ECG lied to us about the causes of the power crisis. Indeed, we are experiencing doomsday. Yesterday, in my constituency, from 6 a.m. till about 6:30 p.m., lights were off. It is still happening, and so we are still experiencing doomsday.
But now
We are not out.
saying it's a localized fault.
No, you see, it is because they have moved to the next phase of covering up the ineptitude and the incompetence of the Akufo-Addo Bawumia government. And so ECG is taking it. Why? In between 2013 to 2016, when President Mahama was president, didn't we have ECG? But when we experienced doomsday, we tagged it to the president. It was only President Mahama who were mentioning and all of that, as if he was the CEO of ECG. But we have a situation today where we are experiencing power crisis, but the ECG has decided to take the fall. They've decided to take the bullet for the government. And so Ghanaians will really get to see the duplicity of this government when it comes to the management of the energy sector. And I'm happy that at least the PURC is beginning to bite. Again, when you look at the fine, 5.8 million, shared among 9 board members, each of them is expected to pay about 650,000 if my calculation is right. So over 600,000 per person. I don't think that this is too much. I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I disagree with my former minister, the Honorable Kwabena Donko. I don't think it is too much because the power outages, the cost of the unplanned power outages in our homes to companies cannot be compared to the amount that is being imposed on them. As I speak to you from a personal experience, fridges are spoiled, Other electrical appliances have been destroyed because even under the NDC, when we had Dumso until President Mahama solved it, we provided timetable. And so people leave homes prepared. So you are aware that today your area will be off.
Yeah.
So you know what kind of preparations to put in place. But this, what we are experiencing today, where the arrogant posture of the government, the arrogance of the government is not allowing them to swallow the bitter truth and tell the people of Ghana that we are experiencing doom, so for them to provide us with a timetable. You are there and the appliances are getting spoiled, people's homes are being destroyed, fire outages here and there. We are even aware of one reported case of a baby getting losing her life. A baby died because of the outage in Tema, at the Tema General Hospital. And so the cost of the life, that baby's life, as compared to the 5.8 million, I still think that even the 5.8 million is still small.
It should have been higher than that.
It should have been higher, because when we put people in positions of authority, when you are managing or you are a board member of a public institution like the ECG, you ought to be responsible. And responsibility means you must be honest to the people of Ghana. And so when you are confronted with a challenge, come back and tell the people of Ghana that we have a problem at hand. Let's give you a timetable. But they refuse, because the board members, together with the management of ECG, decided to cover up the incompetence of and the mismanagement of the energy sector by the government. And so they are supposed to face it. I think that if I have my way, PURC must even review the sanctions, the fines upwards. So
to how
that
much?
it serves as a determinant. No, I can determine, because
Okay,
they
based on
actually
the
use penalty units to determine
yes.
it. But I wish that it could be reviewed upwards, so that it serves as a deterrent to others, those managing our public sector, that look, you can't take the people for granted. Power resides with the people. So when we go, we vote for you, and you have been appointed to manage the energy sector, to manage ECG, you have to be sincere with us.
Okay.
When you have a challenge, tell us that you have a challenge. These things must be done in such a way that people must be held responsible. And you know, Bella, the board chairman resigned. Kelly resigned, and he cited personal reasons. My goodness.
What did you expect him to say?
In any serious jurisdiction where you are experiencing crisis in a sector, the board chairman resigns and offers no explanations and says it's personal reasons. Institutions of state mandated with the power to investigate would have gone in to investigate, because we have handed a whole sector, ECG, such a magnificent, a significant state institution to you as board chairman. Then in the midst of crisis, you resign and you state personal reasons. It doesn't happen anywhere. In any serious jurisdiction, he should be offering us explanations for why he is resigning, explanations for the crisis we are experiencing in the sector, and then all the things that are happening at ECG. The board has, or the ECG boss, Dubik,
Mahama, yeah.
he is also a member of the board. And so all of these people owe us explanations. Now, beyond the fine, ECG should come back to us and tell us why they decided to lie to Ghanaians, that it was due to transformers being repaired. Now, after they claim that the transformers have been repaired, now they are telling us it's localized fault. So across this country, localized fault has spread so much that in almost every part of the country, we are still experiencing the doom. So, and I'm happy that my brother from the NPP himself has admitted that throughout the Easter season, he traveled home to Itiwa West.
Yeah.
He went to his constituency, and every single day of the festive season, he experienced doom. So why can't they just be honest with us?
Let me bring Bernard in, because this is an embarrassment on the ECG to have your regulator say that you peddled falsehood as the reasons why there were power outages across the country. ECG could have avoided all this by just telling the truth and putting out a timetable, just so Ghanaians expect, you know, or know exactly when their lights would go off. What do you make of all this?
Regards and greetings to Edem, Agbana, and of course to Ofosu Intiamwa, yourself and your many viewers across the globe. I want to posit that President Akufo-Addo has made it his talking trait that he will govern this country ignoring the laws of our state. And once the president himself is a violator of the rules and regulations surrounding how our state should be governed, you don't expect his appointees to be any respecter of the laws that govern the administration of their various institutions. We have been in this country where you know that a company must be registered, must have tax clearance certificate, must have Senate certificate, labor certificate, and sometimes even a proof of experience to be able to get a government contract. Contracts have been awarded to companies. They executed the contracts before those companies were actually now certificated by the Registrar General. These are here. The persons who allowed that to happen were actually encouraged to go and contest for parliamentary seats out of the loot that they got from those sharing of the 5 million contaminated liters of oil. They won and they are in parliament, now passing laws for who to respect those laws. Is it not this ECG that the Parliamentary Select Committee on Mines and Energy, chaired by the Honorable Atan Achia, issued a statement that ECG should bring out a timetable of any form to guide the people so that we can be able to regulate our daily activities? Said that when Ofosu Ntiama got to his Atuwa West, he would have been in the full picture when there was going to be lies off, because they don't want us to call it Doomsaw, because they created and caricatured lies off in this country to mean Doomsaw. And so they don't want us to refer to it as Doomsaw. So they say Doomsiesie. So that at least Nti Ahma, who was in his hometown, would have known that the Doomsiesie will affect him for the period that he was going to be there. Probably he would have changed Easter, location. Because you really would not enjoy your Easter after going out and coming, and then you cannot do any other thing in the house. I'm not sure you were able to iron your apparels, except that probably, given your state of wealth, you have a generator in the house. But if you don't, then it means that it was impossible for you to be able to even participate in some things. The irresponsibility and abuse of the ECG, of the authority of Parliament to give out a timetable, it's a manifestation that, look, President Akufo-Addo is saying that you can govern, after all, without respecting the laws of this country. 2, it was PURC that instructed ECG to bring out a timetable. Just guide the people of anything. If it's Doomsiesie, you give the people timetable. Let them be in the full picture of what was going to happen. ECG decided brazenly to ignore the PURC.
That one you blame President Akufo-Addo.
Oh, yes. Who appointed the board? Who appointed the MD? And when a fish is to rot, it starts from the head. But they also taking lessons from the president's abuse of authority and abuse of the laws. If the president is not respecting laws and can flout the laws of this country and still be president, why do you think that his appointees will not do the same? The president of Ghana is flouting the constitution by saying that parliament that has passed the proper sexual human rights law, they should not bring the bill to the president. Is that what your constitution says? This is, don't dare and bring it. That is an abuse of the laws of this country. And so if the president can do that, then ECG can also tell the Select Committee of Parliament that don't dare instruct us to do what you are asking us to do. They can tell PURC that desist from issuing instructions.
But PURC is also answerable to the executive. And so they've also been giving the leeway to also do what they have to do as a regulator.
I'm saying that is why the ECG is bearing and ignoring every other institution and their authority, because President Akufo-Addo is an epitome of disrespect of the laws of this country. He is an embodiment of the disrespect of the laws of this country. See, I will not phantom for a second why For more than 8 months, in my reckoning, we have regular and frequent lights off. Anytime we tell ECG that there is lights off, they find one explanation. At a certain period, we were sharing 600 megawatts at peak periods. And off-peak periods, you were sharing 200 megawatts. And this has been consistent. And you still say that there is no...
Engineer Bernard Mona.
Well, you can even add architect in Bernard Mona, whatever title you add. You understand? We're shedding that amount of money, load. And you say that there is no doomsaw. Is that not recklessness? And then, in the face of this, President Akufo-Addo now comes to say that, look, whatever it is, I charge the power sector to fix the problem. If the management are irresponsible and incapable, you appointed them, sack them.
Who, the president should sack?
The president sack them.
The board, the entire board?
You sack the board because the problem, ECG say that I'm not the fault. Greco says that I'm not the fault. Netco and what do we call it? Not Netco. VRA says they are not the fault. Who is the person responsible? Now, you see the lies that ECG has told over the period. And so, I agree with Adam that I don't know which laws Kobna Donko was working with as a former power minister. If he knows the rules and regulations guiding the PURC, did the PURC overstep their boundaries or they did it within the remit of the law? If they did it within the remit of the law, why are you saying that you think that is too much? It's not about what you think.
No, but he agrees with the sanctions.
It is
about
that
was a little too high.
If there are penalty units, and this is how the penalty units should be applied, and they applied it in total, why are you saying that is too much? So you are saying that they should have tempered with the penalty unit, and they themselves would have then been in breach of the law. So I don't know what Governor Donko was saying at that point. If that is the law, then they only apply the law. Deal with the consequences of the law. And once they have done this, if you have, and you think that that is not it, you have a way to seek redress. And I think that effectively the people of Ghana has been shortchanged for too long. Many are not able to speak about what they have suffered, what they have lost. He just suffered only 3 days or so of no power in Etiwa West, and he is unhappy. Do you know how many people lost their businesses and their entire capital?
And lives. And lives that were lost. Just briefly, I want us to move on to our next topic.
because of propaganda and the lies. You see the way Adam and Bernard are taking this issue.
Propaganda how?
When the state institution has done something good, we need to commend them. Instead of them to commend PURC, look at the way they are.
But they've just said that they agree with the sanctions and PURC has done its job. So
they wasn't too fair with PURC. At least we must commend them because it has never happened.
But they did that, and even Adam said
I didn't hear that.
the sanctions would have
I
even
didn't hear
been
that.
more.
I didn't hear that.
You didn't hear that? Then you weren't listening.
No, you see where Bernard was going, President Akufo-Addo.
I trust that you observe
Hold
well.
on.
The man was sitting down reading
Yes.
theses on his phone.
That's
So he
what I didn't want to say. At the point, he was even looking at some roses.
so the man was not listening to me. So how do you expect
Hold
him to...
on. I want us to move on. No, but do you agree that the president should fire the board?
No. You see, I also think that we should give ECG another opportunity.
To do what again?
No. If as it may, if they have to go back to PURC, if they think that they have a case, they have to go back to PURC.
Yeah, but there's an avenue for appeal.
Sure. And so at this point,
but how do they turn around that embarrassment on them that they lied to the nation?
That's what I'm saying. If they are going back to PURC and they think that they have a case, what they said earlier, that this is the problem, they should go back.
About the transformers.
Exactly. If apart from that, I think that we should rather praise PURC than to sit here and be making.
Oh, but nobody has said PURC has done a
innuendos
bad
and
job. I mean,
aspersions.
I think across the
Bella,
board,
Bella,
everybody
I
has
think
said
that
PURC
is
has done a
The
good job.
innuendos aspersions were too much.
Bella, it's important for him to appreciate the fact that
Okay.
one, we pay
1 minute so
we
we
pay
can
we
move.
pay our electricity bills to ECG, our interface. I mean, it is ECG that we interact with.
We all agree
It
on
is
that.
ECG that provides
no
us
two
with
ways
the,
about
and so
that.
if ECG
We
is
all-
unable to provide us with the electricity, then ECG must be held responsible.
agree.
And I'm saying
Nobody
that,
is saying
but
that
the
they
problem
should
is
be
not. You see, the problem is not ECG. The problem is the central government, because the reason for which we don't have light is because government is unable to buy the fuel. Government is unable to fuel our plants. Government is unable to pay the debts that have compiled in the energy sector. The amounts of money that we have accrued as a country from the ESLA, which is an establishment of President Mahama, that money has been misused. And so they are not able to pay the legacy debt. And so today, many of the IPPs
Which
are
IPP
shedding
are
light.
you owing?
No, but you are owing IPPs to
Which
the tune of
IPP are you
1.5
owing?
billion.
And which, you see,
Why, you don't know that you are owing
you see-
IPPs?
No,
You can
no,
check.
If you go into that, that's a
If you want us to
conversation
go
on
into
its
it,
own.
I will give you. I can mention the
but-
IPPs.
But for me,
You owe IPPs to
think-
the
on,
tune
you
of
let him
1.5
land
billion.
briefly.
You are owing
I have 30
IPPs to the tune
seconds.
of 1.5 billion. It recently came out that government is unable to buy fuel for our plants, and that is why we don't have light. And so at the end of the day, President Akufo-Addo and Alhaji Dr. Bawumia must be the people being held responsible for the mess in the energy sector. They have mismanaged the energy sector that President Mahama handed over to them. At the time you came
They
into
do so.
office, the NDC left office. At the
so.
time we had solved Dumso, and that is on record. Even your flag bearer, Alhaji Dr. Bawumia himself, in an interview on Peace FM, said that yes, President Mahama solved Dumso, but he did not deserve any credit for doing so, because it was his work to do so. And so if you want us to go into the Dumso debate, the NDC solved Dumso before we left office. You inherited an energy sector that was good, an energy sector that was giving you about 800 million in the ESLA fund and many other revenue that was coming into your coffers. But you mismanage it. You can't even buy fuel.
Okay.
You can't pay IPPs. We are in debt. We are in crisis. You can't give us electricity.
Okay.
Alhaji Bawumia is the one who is supposed to take credit.
Okay, that's it.
He
I don't
must
know
take the
if Ben
fall
Amoda wants to
for
come in
the
at this
mess in
point.
the
I really
energy
want us to
sector.
move on to our next topic.
Just so that, if that will make my brother Ofosu Ntiamwa, his temperature come down and his BP not rise.
I thought Eden's temperature was rather high.
No, because he says that I should commend PURC. PURC, you are hereby commended
Okay.
for the solid job that you have done, pointing out that ECG has an obligation to the citizens of this country.
Okay.
There cannot be doubt about that. But I ask the question, who appointed ECG management? Who is responsible? At the time that we were chastising President Mahama and the NDC, that Dumso must stop, at that time there was no ECG. At that time there was no Greco. At that time there was no VRA. At that time there was no any other power sector. But we put the blame squarely on the president. Today, when we are putting the blame on the president for his reckless management of the energy sector, you are here saying that I have not praised PURC. PURC, you are praised.
All right.